Hi everyone, it's Carolyn from True Crime Chat with Mommy Ramblings, and I'm here with, wow, something else from Chris Watts' parents, Cindy and Ronnie. It really has you scratching your head and saying, how low can they go? I mean, is this the lowest depth that they'll sink to or not? Because they're trying to say they have claim to Shanann's life insurance benefits along with Bella and Cece's, Celeste's. So let's take a look at what's going on here, because this is really unbelievably, when you think they can't go lower, they go lower. So when Chris was working at Anadarko, he took out life insurance policies, a $300,000 policy for Shanann, and the girls, Bella and Celeste, each had $75,000 life insurance policies. Chris was the beneficiary, and that's a total of $450,000 in insurance payouts. The company was Zurich America Insurance Company, and now there are civil complaints that were filed this summer, and we see that in there, Ronnie and Cindy Watts have laid claim to these benefits. And I'll show you all that. So it's kind of appalling, but let's take a look at what's going on. Now, I mean, Ronnie and Cindy Watts were so quick to ridicule and lie about their daughter-in-law, Shanann Rzucek. Literally moments after the interview where Chris Watts confessed to his father of murdering Shanann. We know Ronnie, and if you haven't seen it, I have them in my files here. Ronnie was in an interview room at the Frederick Police Department saying that Cindy always told him Shanann was controlling, narcissistic, and possibly bipolar. They're just throwing around these terms that they're just so qualified to diagnose her, right? And when they should really be holding a mirror up to themselves. But nonetheless, that wasn't the end of it. They then went on and gave interviews with several media stations, causing the Rzuceks to have their lawyer issue a statement, because they were just slandering Shanann's name to clear their son, to, keep him as the golden child, right? Not to mention, Cindy saying she doesn't care what Chris did, right? She didn't go to their wedding or little Celeste's third birthday party because she just couldn't, manage to get her big girl panties on that day and pull it together and go for her granddaughter. That's how much, she loved her, and that's how mature she was, that she couldn't put away her own feelings for her granddaughter, whose birthday, that's probably the first time ever she would be able to share in her granddaughter's birthday. Instead, she mailed presents to the house in Colorado and didn't show up. She just couldn't pull it together. And then they admittedly lied, to get into the court as victims, just so they could talk to Chris in what was supposed to be a victim's statement. She gushed on about the cold-blooded murderer who had just murdered and took the lives of 4 people, the Rzucek family. Don't even get me started on that. Hearing her say that, at the very least, they should be charged with contempt. I just cannot even believe that. As I'll say again, I'm so upset that the judge let her speak when she said the rest of my time will be, dedicated to Chris, or will be directed to Chris. No, it shouldn't have been. She was supposed to be making a victim statement, but it's just a slap in the face to hear those recorded calls where she says she didn't mean any of that. That woman just read that. She would have said whatever it is just to get through there. And, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. But now, of course, so I can say, really, Cindy and Ronnie? Really? I don't know how the Rzuceks can even stomach your actions. Out there bad-mouthing their murdered daughter who was killed by your perfect son, the one who never rebelled and was a model of absolute integrity and perfection in your eyes. You have continued to slander Shanann many times over while burning bridges with those who enlisted to tell your fabricated stories in an attempt to clear your son of the most horrific murders and aftermath imaginable. When you look up Family Annihilator, you see Chris Watts. Go try it in Google. There's your perfect son, Cindy. And yet, Ronnie and Cindy think Chris is an altar boy. Okay, this is part of the Slayer statute that's in that document, and I will put a link to it in the video description. But let's just go over here. The statute does not address whether following such a direction by a killer would constitute an improper wrongful acquisition of an interest by that killer. As C.W. Chris Watts has no living descendants and no spouse, any disclaimed share of an intestate estate would go to his surviving parents, Ronnie and Cindy Watts, under Colorado Rev. Stat 1511-103. The estate of Shanann Watts, through Franklin Rzucek, has made a claim for the benefits owed for the deaths of Shanann Watts, $300,000, C.C. Watts, $75,000, and Bella Watts, $75,000. The Watts have made a claim for these same benefits as the parents of Christopher Watts. The Rzuceks have made a claim for the same benefits as the parents of Shanann Watts. Zurich is willing to pay the benefits totaling $450,000 for the deaths of Shanann Watts, C.C. Watts, and Bella Watts, but needs to know to whom to make the payments so it does not face a claim for multiple payments. So here's the first part of that. You see it's the Zurich American Insurance Company plaintiff. We have Franklin Rzucek as personal representative of the estate of Shanann Watts, Ronnie Watts, Cindy Watts, Franklin Rzucek, and Sandra Rzucek, all defendants. First amended complaint for interpleader and declaratory relief. So the Zurich Insurance Company, through its attorneys, submits the following as its first amended complaint for interpleader and declaratory relief pursuant to that statute. It alleges the following: Zurich is a New York corporation, and the defendant, Franklin Rzucek Sr., is the personal representative of the estate of Shanann Watts appointed by the District Court of Weld County, Colorado. Franklin Rzucek is named in his capacity as personal representative and individually. Okay, so let's go a little further. And this is, again, the Slayer statute that we just read a little bit about before, right a couple of minutes ago. Colorado prohibits the wrongful acquisition of property by someone who commits a felonious killing by statute. And there's the statute. It's the Slayer statute. The statute defines a killer to be anyone who has committed a felonious killing. The statute defines a felonious killing to be a killing of a decedent by an individual who, as a result thereof, is convicted of or pleads guilty to the crime of murder in the first or second degree. Chris Watts is a killer, as defined in the statute, as he pled guilty to the first-degree murder for the deaths of Shanann Watts, Bella Watts, and C.C. Watts on November 6th, 2018 in the District Court of Weld County, Colorado. The statute defines a governing instrument to mean a governing instrument executed by the decedent. There is no governing instrument executed by Shanann Watts, CC Watts, or Bella Watts, as none of them designated any beneficiaries or any other document related to the policy. Rather, Chris Watts executed the application request for supplemental AD&D coverage. Subsection: the statute contains the Colorado legislator's general gilding principle by stating that a wrongful acquisition of property of an interest by a killer is not covered. So yeah, he cannot benefit from this since he murdered them. So these are, just a few more things I'm just going to read out from the document. Under the policy, an employee of Anadarko was eligible to purchase an amount of principal sum for the accidental death benefit. Chris Watts elected to purchase the principal sum of $500,000. Chris Watts was the insured as defined in the policy. Shanann Watts, CC Watts, and Bella Watts were all covered persons and covered dependents as defined in the policy. By endorsement, the policy specified that the principal sum for a covered dependent would be a set percentage of the insured principal sum. The principal sum for Shanann Watts as the spouse of Chris Watts was 60% of Chris Watts' principal sum, or $300,000. The principal sum for CC and Bella as dependent children was 15% of Chris Watts' principal sum and $75,000 each. Now, this court filing went on to explain that Shanann and the girls met all the necessary criteria to receive a full payout, but of course that Chris would not be able to receive the money under the Slayer statute. Okay, now this could have been a problem, but Chris seems to have addressed this prior to the policy paying out. His parents had other thoughts. Now, Chris waived any interest in any insurance benefits and directed that all such be paid to Shanann Watts' estate. A copy of that order was dated June 25th, 2019 in the probate case for the estate of Shanann Watts, case number 2018 PR 190. The statute does not address whether following such a direction by a killer would constitute an improper, wrongful acquisition of an interest by that killer. Now, as we said, with Chris not having any living descendants, no spouse, any disclaimed share of an intestate estate would go to his surviving parents, Ronnie and Cindy Watts. So the estate of Shanann Watts through Franklin Rzucek made a claim for the benefits owed for the death of Shanann Watts. Again, $300,000, CC Watts, $75,000, Bella Watts, $75,000. The Watts made a claim for those very same benefits as the parents of Christopher Watts, the murderer. Of course, the Rzuceks made their claim for those benefits as the parents of Shanann Watts. Now, this meant that two parties were going to go to court to fight for the money. And in the end, the insurance company just said, hey, we want to be done with this. So we're going to put these funds into an account that was their lawyer's account. It was an account that was then paid out to the lawyers in the case. So then there's this motion to dismiss, which states that on August 18th of 2020, the court issued its order granting plaintiffs' unopposed motion to interplead funds into the court's registry for dismissal with prejudice and for permanent injunction, directing the plaintiff to pay the policy proceeds of $450,000 into the registry of the court. So the plaintiff, Zurich, paid the policy proceeds into the registry of the court on August 25th, 2020. $450,000 into the registry of the court. Defendants Franklin Rzucek as personal representative of the estate of Shanann Watts, Ronnie Watts, Cindy Watts, and then Franklin Rzucek and Sandy Rzucek, collectively, defendants, have reached a settlement in this manner. Defendants request that the court order that the $450,000 paid by the plaintiff into the registry of the court be dispersed in full to the Grant and Hoffman PC COLTAF account. Grant and Hoffman PC shall then disperse the funds pursuant to the settlement between the defendants. Now, it wasn't revealed how the money was split between these two families. So it's unimaginable that the Watts should lay claim to any of this. First and foremost, there is a wrongful death settlement where Chris owes the Rzucek family $6 million in a wrongful death. It's absurd to me because it's like morally wrong, because we know that this money that they're getting, where do you think that's going to be used? What, maybe to buy him stuff from that catalog we saw? Maybe the TV, maybe this, put in his commissary account, for their flights back and forth to Wisconsin, blah, blah, blah. So to me, that is ludicrous. If these Watts are getting any money, it is ludicrous. I'm sorry. It should just be that they're settling to take whatever, decide an amount, and then it goes towards the wrongful death, and the Rzuceks get all that money. I don't see how they are entitled to anything. Okay, I don't see it, because Chris will ultimately be benefiting, and we know that, and it's just so morally wrong. It's morally wrong, especially when he has that outstanding $6 million he needs to pay to that family. Because Christopher Watts, remember, agreed to pay $6 million to the parents of Shanann Watts through that wrongful death. So a judge ordered that Christopher Watts pay $6 million to Frank and Sandy Rzucek in that civil case. And that was filed by the Rzuceks the same day that Chris Watts pleaded guilty to killing Shanann, pregnant Shanann, and the two little girls, Bella and Celeste. And that figure includes $1 million for each of the deaths and $3 million for emotional pain. The amount owed will grow at 8% annual interest rate. And in that, we found out, the Rzucek family has not been the same since August 13th of 2018, according to the court document. They have suffered with anger, loneliness, sadness, and depression. For a substantial period of time following the discovery of their daughter and grandchildren's murders, they were unable to work, leave the house, or even eat. And that's what we have on that. So we don't know what the settlement was. We don't know if the money that the Watts felt they were entitled to was given back to the Rzuceks as a start on that $6 million plus, with interest that Chris will never be able to repay. And it's very infuriating that they would even lay claim to any of that. We know if they do get a portion of that, it is essentially going to benefit Chris, which is exactly what it's not supposed to do. And whether they are buying him things from that winter and fall wish book, if you will, from the prison, where he can get headphones and a TV and a boombox and a rug, whatever. It could benefit him in the terms of having Ronnie and Cindy flying out there more often, and we know how much he would enjoy that. You know, just you know, what maybe affording lawyers they couldn't afford in order to bring about, you know, frivolous bids for appeals that are never going to go through, that are just going to hurt and harm the family. So yeah, I really hope that, you know, whatever they've laid claim to went back to the Rzucek family as payment on that $6 million. I hope so. I don't know. None of us know. We can only give our love and support to the Rzucek family as they tread these waters. I think it's really despicable that Ronnie and Cindy continue to do this stuff and they have to go through this. But, you know, it's just been the way with them. They have to listen to, you know, Cindy say what a great guy and gush love over him and everything else, you know. So it's infuriating to me. And if it's infuriating to me, I know it's infuriating to members of our community, and it's can't even imagine what the Rzucek family is feeling, because it seems there's always a narrative that Cindy's trying to get out there and these channels that are opening up. And that brings me to something else. Someone told me that that other channel is putting even more stuff out, and, you know, could I just do the debunking of it and whatnot, because it's disgusting. And yeah, I will go and do that. So look for that. But really, terms of service on YouTube, those channels should just come down. I wish they would enforce their terms of service. It's disgusting that they're not. But in the meantime, like I said, this channel will always pledge and be behind and give our love and support and prayers to the Rzucek family and the victims of all crimes and the victims of anything. You know, we're going to be behind them. So, all right. Thank you, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.